Right, so a quick spot of housekeeping before we kick off today's video. Lots of people have been sending me messages asking if I'm alright with regards to the fires and everything, and we're sweet. It's very hot, very dry and very windy at the moment, so that could all change at the drop of the hat. But for the most part, I'm further north than where those big fires are. We've had a couple around here, but they have been taken, like they're under control now. So, but it is a gigantic problem the further south you go. New South Wales, Victoria, South Australia and Western Australia are all suffering from extreme cases of catastrophic bushfires. And the reason why it's such a problem is because Australia is a huge place with not that many people in it. So imagine a landmass sort of a little bit smaller than the continental United States, but with the total population of that whole place only being Los Angeles. So in Australia, our taxpayer dollars are stretched very thin over a very large amount of land. And pretty much all of that land is on fire at the moment. So the way it works here with our fireys, the big red fire engines that you are probably accustomed to seeing, generally we only have them in large population centres. And outside of that, it's all basically unpaid volunteers pretty much that pick up the slack. They drive around in those little yellow fire trucks and put out fires as best they can. So they're under a lot of stress at the moment because just of the sheer scale of the catastrophe. It's many times greater than the burning of the Amazon. It's insane. There's like somewhere in the neighborhood of bajillions of like native wildlife have been killed and all that jazz, which is very, very sad. But it is what it is. It's part of nature, and we're trying to deal with it. But if you would like to be part of the solution, check out the links below in the description. And if you want to rack up some good karma, throw a couple of dollars to those organizations in the description, and you will have my gratitude. Thank you. On with the show. So, got my sick corduroy Bunnings hat. Living the dream, living the dream. Check out my setup. I've got my Pajero up and running. Did a bunch of work to it. Put a new intercooler in, new fuel filter, new suction control valves, and fixed a bunch of leaks and tweaked a bunch of this and that. New battery. Now she's running like a top. Great little engine. Full-size engine in a half-size car. Gotta love that. Just whooshes around everywhere. It's great. And got me new King's awning all set up there. Got a bit of stuffing around to do to make it fit a little better than it is now. But yeah, it's wonderful. If you got anything cool for Christmas like that, my mother dearest gave me the gift of shade. I'm so thankful. It's awesome. So yeah, drop a comment and tell me all the cool stuff you got for Christmas. I want to hear it. And then we got the impact down the bottom there, hard cases lying around. Today's going to be a good day. So, a good friend of mine came across these at an army disposal shop for next to nothing. So turns out that there's a bunch of surplus 34mm 5 MRAD single piece scope rings going around, so have a look out for them, see if you can find one. Seems to be a good thing. So I'll be able to reclaim a little bit of elevation from the trajectory of my pellet, which is going to be good. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. But before we go ahead and put one of them on, just for giggles, I wanted to see whether or not I could shoot with no scope at all. So, got some steel set up down the bottom, so I'm going to pull my scope off and yeah, no scope it, see how that goes. insightful. So that was weird. You can shoot with no scope. It's not advisable and it's very difficult and it's completely pointless, but it can be done, I guess. That was hitting steel at 25 meters every now and then, so maximum giggles achieved. I'm not really sure what's going on with my gun. It sounds a little different to how it normally does. It looks like the regulator's fine. Hammer spring's on minimum, so it should be quiet, but it sounds much quieter than it normally is. So, weird. I don't know. Regulator's fine, everything's fine. Maybe it's just quieter than I remember. I don't know. But, in any case, we're going to whack the new scope, or whack the scope in the new rings and see how we go. The thing about buying second-hand rings is that oftentimes you'll find these little badoobas in there. They're going to be clapped out. So that's why there's 3 of them here. So we should be able to make one good one out of all 3 of them. And then, yeah, yippity-doo-dah, all good. I managed to grab a couple of good screws out of one of the other ones. They got a bit of cam paint on them, but beggars can't be choosers, I guess. So, and I've also left my scope leveling kit back at the house, which is a bit of a silly move, but yeah. On the front of these, they've got a little triangle that indicates the direction of the elevation built into the mount. So I'm assuming that means high at the back and low at the front. Oh no. No! The old bender's too fat. That's no good at all. Damn it. Oh well. Oh well! It's very annoying. I knew this was going to happen when I bought a Impact. I knew that I was going to have to get fairly savvy with my gunsmithing. But I've been trying to make a video for the last couple of days, which is why I haven't put one out, even though I've had the time off. But I've done a fairly deep dive into what goes into assembling and disassembling and fixing and finding problems with the Impact. And I think I've found mine. So it just suddenly started to lose power. So I had it tuned up and running the King Heavy Mark IIs at about 930 feet per second, which was very accurate and very good. And then mysteriously I pulled it out of the safe and it was shooting only about 700 feet per second on max and only about 250 on minimum. So it was very erratic too. It wasn't a good tune or anything like that. So yeah, I have pulled it apart as you see before me, and yeah, I think there's something wrong with one of these little green O-rings. That is the problem. So I'm not sure if there is supposed to be 2, but it would appear that this little green one here is all flogged out, and it sort of appears to me that it might be part of this bigger one. So I'm going to have to do a little bit more digging and figure that out, but that's definitely wrong. Whatever that is, it's wrong. And it came off the end of the valve stem there, so I had to use a vice grip to push it out and clamp onto it, and then undid it by putting a small Allen key into the piece that spins off it. So yes, joyous, wonderful times. Yes, exactly what you want to be doing with your air gun when you're on holidays. So apparently that's a pretty common problem. C3 bumper. I've got parts ordered. I've got an O-ring kit coming to do a full rebuild, so it'll be nice to have that in my back pocket ready to go for when I need it. And also got some juicy, exciting power-up bits coming, including a brand new C3 bumper made out of Delrin, so that'll be a nice upgrade. But for now I'm just going to whack it all back together and chuck him back in the safe so that yeah, nothing gets dirty. I don't really want to leave it lying around out in the open, and yeah, might even be a little bit illegal to leave all this stuff lying around. So put it all back together, chuck it in the safe, and I guess we'll use something else. So seeing as my Impact has given up the ghost, we will use my Benjamin Titan nitro piston. It is a 22 caliber spring gun. Basically it uses the cocking mechanism to cock back a nitrogen charged piston. So the piston pushes back and pressurizes a little cartridge full of nitrogen basically, and then once the sear lets the spring go forwards, the energy that's stored inside that nitrogen piston throws the pellet out the barrel. So weird little gun, very quiet, not very powerful. Shoots 22 caliber pellets, depending on how heavy they are, somewhere in the neighborhood of like 700 to 800 feet per second. But it's perfect for what I'm doing today. So simple, very difficult to break, and yeah, good enough for the ranges that we're going to be shooting at. I totally suck with it out past like 10-15 meters, but that's fine. Today we're probably going to be shooting at 5 to 10 meters for toad culling, everyone's favorite thing. So here she is, nestled amongst all the rubbish on my desk here, using Barracuda Hunter Extremes. They are 22 caliber, 18.52 grains. No particular reason why, I just wanted to try them and see how they went. Running a 4x Gamo scope on the top, just in the standard little dovetail rings, and yeah, that's about it. So it's unsuppressed, as all of my guns are, because I live in Australia, the land of stupidity. But this one's pretty quiet on its own already anyway, so yeah. There's a bat in my shed. What are you doing, buddy? Hey, did I wake you up? Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Ugh. Creepy. Good, good. Lovely day for it. Back on the range again, hopefully with a gun that works this time. I am going to gun zeroed for 10 meters, and because of the way the gun works, the recoil impulse kind of happens before well, I don't know, it's difficult for me to explain, but the way the recoil works on this gun makes it very difficult to group with. It's kind of like shooting an old flintlock pistol, or a flintlock rifle, I guess. But yes, so close range is only for me. You can go a lot further back with it if you practice with it, but it's just too inconsistent for me, myself. That's why I shoot PCPs. I much prefer having something that does the same thing every time I shoot it. But when you're at super close ranges, this thing's all right. So we're going to, I'll shoot a group at 10 meters and show you how it groups, and then I'm going to zero it at 5 meters for close range stuff. So it looks like we pumped 4 through the same hole at 10 meters and then threw one off to the right. It has a very long, sort of grindy, crunchy trigger pull, especially when you compare it to the stuff that I normally shoot. I normally shoot guns that have exceptionally nice triggers. I often use my CZ455, which is lovely for a factory trigger. The FX obviously has great trigger. And even my centerfire rifles have nice triggers. I've got a Hauer and a Mossberg as well, and the Mossberg especially has a wonderful trigger. It's sort of very similar to the Savage trigger system, but it's light and crisp and repeatable and just wonderful. None of those words would I use to describe the Benjamin Titan nitro piston, but yeah, you know, it's a job, it's a gun for a particular job, and this is something that you would have to expect for a gun that is designed this way, and something at this price point too, because the gun's only, you know, 300 Aussie dollars, so yes. So I'm going to walk in 5 meters and zero it up at 5 meters. I've got a fairly heavy glare coming off the sun. I'm basically shooting straight into the sun at the moment, so it's a little tricky, but whatever. Alright, that was weirdly enjoyable. Slapping that barrel down's always fun. So this is my last group here. Where are we? There we go. That one on the right there. So near enough is good enough. It's maybe half a fingernail down, so good. Seems like once the piston heats up a little bit, the point of impact changes too. So something to think about if you're doing lots and lots of rapid shooting with something like this. I guess now all that's left to do is wait for the sun to go down and the toads to come out. Alright, sun is down, let's go and pump some toads. Alright, all the boys are up there. 2 alpacas, 2 horses, and the world further south is my oyster. Very good. Beautiful. First customer of the night. Lovely. Lovely. Perfect headshot. Chuck him in the bag, make sure nobody eats it. Very good. Job done. It's like a truck. Wonderful. Just a quick clarification, these are a pest species. I'm not just shooting random frogs and toads. These are cane toads. They were introduced a little while ago and they are a gigantic disaster for the environment. So removing them locally is always a good thing. So this is removing a pest species. I'm not shooting native animals or anything like that, so don't freak out. Man, there are millions of these things out tonight. Fellas, what do you think about the nitro piston? Any good? I think it's pretty good. Seems like we're getting the job done. Nice and simple. Crack it open, stuff one in the barrel, shut it, pop it, repeat. Not bad at all, hey? Pretty good. Pretty good. Not too fussed by the gun going off. Don't seem to mind at all. So a very successful toad hunt. They seem to be out in gigantic numbers at the moment, which is a bit of a problem. I don't think I've ever seen that many of them at once. Driving around at night, they're just all over the road, they're everywhere. So we'll have to put in a few nights' work out here and knock a fair few more of them over. But the Benjamin Titan Nitro Piston in 22, a lovely gun for the job. Wouldn't really take it in my hands, it's no good out past sort of 10 to 15 meters. I'm just not good enough with it. I'm not well practiced enough. Your mileage may vary, but yeah, for me, I have to be responsible with the way I use it, just because of its, the nature of the way it shoots. But when you are using it for what it is designed for the short range applications, pretty good little gat. Very simple, very easy, not much can go wrong with it. Doesn't really require too much servicing, and yeah, nice and cheap. So those H&N pellets did a good job too. Didn't really have any issues with serious over-penetration they were going through, but they were pretty much stopped by the time they were done. So happy with that. Very good, very good. It's nice to have options for when your impact inevitably goes down. So annoying, so annoying. Anyway, if you like the video, gently tickle that like button. Don't forget to check out those links if you want to be part of the solution for the Australian bushfire catastrophe. Giving money to the organisations, most of those down there are NGOs as well, which means the government is not going to get their sticky fingers on any of the money. The people who are actually competent at their jobs will get the money and distribute it to the people who need it, especially St. Vinny's, legends. Yeah, not much else to say, but pray for us, we need it. Bye.